Swedish lands to across the Nordics, we raise it up, and the whole town knows.
Welcome to Salboheds white paper launch. Oh my, I'm so glad to see so many of you here. I know that we have ambassadors here, and we have policymakers, and we have partners and industry leaders. And we all share the same interest in how digital infrastructure can strengthen our societies and economies and the communities as a whole. Now, when we talk about data centers, I think that most of us tend to think of technology, of servers, of data, and the cloud. But I'd say there lies something deeply human behind data centers. Because when we talk about that, each facility actually represents thousands of skilled jobs and new supply chains, and also new opportunities for regions and people across Sweden and beyond. Now, today we will explore just that. We will explore the hidden workforce behind the cloud. Well, my name is Anna Franksén Starin, and I am a cultural anthropologist and a trend analyst researching the future and human behaviors. And especially what I do research, it's what changes our human behaviors. And due to that, I've been studying how digital transformation actually shapes society, but also changes our human behaviors. And that has given me a very strange nickname in Swedish media, which is Robot Anna. And that's only because I research how digital transformation, artificial intelligence, and how that shapes us. Now, this changes everything, the digital transformation. You know, everything from education to what new skills will be needed in the future, how regions must react, and how our municipalities must act. And when we talk about these transformation, you know, data center actually lies in the center of everything. They are the powerful foundation of our digital lives, because they will make the everything needed for AI innovations and climate research and healthcare and creativity and communications in the future. So this is one of the most important topics that I can talk about. And today we will discuss that. And I know that we will create new networks and we will get new friends and new collaborations here. And that's the most important thing. The first thing that I would like to do from stage as a moderator is inviting the host of today here. He is the CEO of Salboheds, and his name is Dennis Peters. A warm round of applause. Welcome, Dennis. The stage is yours.
So, does everyone hear me? Good. So, Excellencies, distinguished guests, valued partners and friends, very warm welcome to the launch of our white paper here today, The Hidden Workforce of the Cloud, and how data centers drive thousands of jobs locally. Very glad and honored to be standing in front of all of these people here, from diplomatic corps to leaders from government, academia, trusted partners and clients. I think this white paper reveals a powerful truth that data centers is not just the technology, it's the people behind it and the communities around these people. Digital infrastructure is a catalyst for growth. It creates thousands of skilled jobs, not just on the construction sites, but in the community as a whole. I also believe that it helps us connect different cultures and bring people together to create relationships between people that otherwise would probably never have met. And some of these relationships, I'm sure, will be lifelong as well. At Salboheds, we're proud to be part of this digital transformation and these projects. Data is the new electricity, and these hyperscale data centers are the power plants of today. We make these giants possible by delivering the groundworks that they rest upon. So thank you again for joining us as we explore how these projects in the Nordics and particularly in Sweden can help bring growth to the societies where they're built. Thank you.
So, Dennis, I have a couple of questions for you, actually. So I was wondering, when you decided at Salboheds to release this white paper, what was the insights, actually, that what did you hope that it would bring to society and the regions to host data centers?
Well, it's like I touched upon before that we believe data centers are not just the server racks or the fiber coming into sites. It's really about the people and the skilled workers, all the way from ground workers to steel workers or roofers, all the way up to maintenance and operations. And I think it's important that these roles are, that you share these roles as well, because without them, there wouldn't be a data center. And our hope is that this white paper can bring some insights to governments, politicians, industry leaders, to help them realize that when you put a hyperscale data center in the region, it really brings growth to the entire region.
Perfect. So you started actually as a local company 20 years ago, right here in Västerås, in a place called Salboheds. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
So, and now you don't not only work here in Västerås, but you're working across the Nordics. So what was the difference, and what made you start working with some of the largest companies around the globe? And how did you make that leap from being such a local expertise to going beyond and internationally?
Yeah, well, I'd say Salboheds is the perfect example of what this white paper actually shows, that it's about the people and what it actually brings. When we started working with data centers about 10 years ago, we were turning over about 15 million euro and putting about 100 people to work every day. Today, we're turning over 250 million euro and we have about 1,500 people every day going to their work site. And I think that's really important. That's 1,500 people being able to provide for their families, to pay their mortgages, to buy Christmas presents for their kids every year. And that's not something we should forget. And it's about, it's all because of these giant companies deciding to put a data center in the region where we are and where we work and live. And I had the honor to be invited to the Irish embassy and meet with the ambassador that'll be taking the stage here in a while as well. And we discussed why have we been successful? And I think it really comes down to us being able to combine our cultures. It's about people meeting and we all want to do good things. And I think that's very powerful, and it brings a lot of good things for our society as well. Because it's not just the workers on the construction site, it's housing, restaurants, pubs, hotels, local suppliers. Like, we want to help people grow as well.
Yeah.
We've seen small businesses firsthand growing to big companies now that they'll also provide hundreds of jobs for people. So it's sort of a ripple effect that goes from just this decision that this company wanted to place a data center here, brings so much to the society as a whole. And I think that's an important thing to be remembered by, like I said, decision makers and the regions where we put them. It's not just server rack or a big shed.
No, it's
so
so
much more.
much more.
Yeah.
And well, I can see, and your heart lies in the society, and it starts to bloom when and there's so much happen in the region beyond just that data center.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
definitely.
Well, I was thinking about one thing, because we have one thing in common, all of us being here today, and that is that we would like to explore what the opportunities are. So you will be staying here right now. And I was thinking, because we are creating sort of a network and an ecosystem where we can find new partnerships and explore this together. So afterwards, are there any questions, anything that you would like to receive from this audience when we have a coffee?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're obviously interested in and talking to everyone, and that there's a lot of, the right people are in the room. So please reach out if there's anything. And I just want to say, like, there's an important part of this that we want to give back to society as well. So if that's charities or sponsoring local clubs or, helping small businesses grow, that we want to do that, and we're committed to doing that as well. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Well, coming from a small community, this gives me goosebumps. Thank you very much. A warm round of applause for Dennis. Thank you very much. Now, we want to explore this white paper and get to understand what lies in the heart of this study that we have and the hidden workforce of the cloud. And we have a daddy to this white paper, and I would like to welcome him onto stage. So please help me in welcoming the Chief Innovation Officer at Salboheds, Patrick Walsh. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you everyone for coming today. As Anna says, I am Patrick Hamilton Walsh, and I am the Chief Innovation Officer at Salboheds. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, my background is actually in finance and law. Working in Ireland, I used to advise some of the world's biggest companies and the world's ultra high net worth individuals on how to develop their businesses. Before, in 2007, I sold everything I had and I went backpacking around the world for 7 years. And that's how I ended up in Sweden, believe it or not. I went to over 150 countries, wrote multiple books. And over the past few years, I have been given this opportunity to advise some of the world's most forward-thinking governments, cities, regions, and also some of the world's most biggest companies. During that time, I have had the opportunity to write many books and white papers around problems that are unfolding in the world as we become more sort of technologically advanced. So for the past 10 years, I've been living and working in this beautiful society. I've been based out of Stockholm for 10 years. I've been working across Sweden and the Nordics during that time, and I keep getting the same question over and over, which is, why did you choose to live in Sweden? You've been to all these places. What's so special about this one? And to be honest with you, it's all about the people. Swedish people are able to get to heights and get into positions almost, it seems, on every field before everyone else even thinks about it. They're first movers on so many different things. And to be honest with you, data centers is no different. People might not realize this, but Sweden opened up the first data center in September 11, 2008. That was the first modern version of it. But I'm sure everyone knows this famous photograph of the early days of telecommunication, where even back then in 1888, Sweden was ruling the world. And this is the famous Stockholm telephone tower from those days. Data centers, as we know them in the modern era, started in, as I said, 2008. But again, Sweden ruling the world. What people don't know is that there was a thing called centralized commuting facilities, which were set up by the Swedish municipalities combined, which was sort of an early adapter of what data centers became. And of course, as I say about everything, Sweden was always the first to go there, and it continues to this day. And this is why I want to sort of expand a little bit further on the impact of data centers and what we are doing in the Nordics in regard to that, because I want to set the stage here sort of by connecting how these digital ecosystems are actually impacting our everyday life, and also relate it back to the unseen people who are behind it. Unfortunately, there seems to be like a narrative that data centers are something that's sort of built and extract from the communities, don't really give too much back. But what I really want to do today is I want to provide a new objective. I want to put a lens on these and provide a fresh perspective that sort of closes the sort of the knowledge gap and the expectations gap around what data centers are and the importance that they have to the society. So it's as simple as this. Every time you send an email, use your bank ID, book a train ticket to come to an event like this. What you're actually relying on is thousands and thousands of unseen workers, in the background in your local area that turn up for work that day to make that available for you. So this presentation today is about those people, and they're the people that connect us to everyone and everything on Earth, and they are the hidden workforce off the cloud. Everyone has seen this photo. It's a bunch of Irishmen sitting high up in the cloud as they were constructing the Empire State Building. But today in the Nordics, we have teams from all around the world that are helping build for the cloud. This is how far we've come. And to be very open about it from the start, let's just say that when it comes from planning to operation of a data center, a single hyperscale data center can support between 2,000 to 15,000 people. And that's in direct, indirect roles and induced roles. What isn't so obvious is that people don't really think about the plumbers, the suppliers, the baristas, the bus drivers, the teachers that are involved in making all of this happen as we go right out on the ripple. But they're all tied to the cloud in some way. And I have to ask, does anyone know what this is? So I was actually here last week. This is the space where they built the Titanic. This is the Titanic corridor in Belfast. And it's the dock literally where they built the unsinkable ship, and we all know what happened to that. But in the 20th century, shipyards and factories were what was transforming economies. You look at cities like Rotterdam, Belfast, Glasgow, and many others. They were actually the ones that actually enabled us to connect to the world because they were building at that time. But today we're in a situation where data centers are the new shipyards. They are vast, massive in size. They are precise in what they do, and they are essential for our progress as we again connect to the world. So we have went from shipyards to server farms, and that is what our modern world is now based on. I don't need to ask too many of you if you recognize this building, but just like the shipyards of yesterday, the numbers employed in data centers is absolutely vast. During 2025, nearly 2.3 million people all around the world are working with data centers. And to put that into perspective, that's the population of Paris. So this is not small operations that we're dealing with. And to be honest with you, that should be a cause for celebration. We should be high-fiving each other and understanding the fact that, but Dennis just said, there's 2.3 million homes that are getting their mortgages paid, that are being able to buy toys for Christmas and put shoes on the feet of their kids. But actually, when we deal with data centers, it sort of almost feels more like this in the media, where it's, data centers, are using the energy and they're doing all these bad things. We rarely ever hear about the importance of data centers and the good things that they're bringing. So the question is, why does traditional type of factories get such a warm welcome and everyone wants to be part of it and, have a big celebration when they happen? Let's join this PR. The reality is they should have all that because they are so important to society. But what I wanted to do today is I wanted to discuss this. I wanted to be using this white paper to sort of close the expectations gap and the knowledge gap that is around data centers. And I want people to understand that a lot of these data centers are set up in societies which are quite vulnerable, places which are losing talent and are, going into sort of a negative spiral when it comes to the upkeep of them. I'm going to give you one example. Hyundai built this car plant in Alabama. It employed 3,000 people directly, and around the area, it created a further 9,000 supplier jobs. Brilliant news, But data centers also have that same ripple effect, and they are the modern day factories for the digital age. Satya Nadella is the CEO of Microsoft, the most successful they've ever had. And he says the real opportunity in digital infrastructure lies not just in the technology, but in the talent and the communities that they empower. So there is a ripple effect to opening a data center, and I'm going to lay out now just exactly how they work. So there's three elements to it. We have direct jobs in construction and operations. We have indirect jobs in supply chains, and we have the induced jobs, which are in local communities like cafes, schools, transports, hotels. So, to be very blunt, A single large data center employs between 1,000 to 5,000 people during the construction phase. You can see them listed here, from electricians, engineers, project managers, crane operators, the list goes on. That's even before it opens. Once it opens and it's operational, we see these are permanent, high-paying jobs which exist for the duration of as long as that facility is there. These jobs will be required as long as the facility is in operation. Now, this is probably a good time to sort of give you the details on the supply chain multiplier. According to PwC, every direct data center job creates 7.4 more jobs in the supply chain. That's truck drivers, steel workers, HVAC teams, hotel workers, and jobs that ripple out throughout the society. Quickly, I want to look at the second ripple, which is the indirect roles. The first batch of these are the teams that provide the construction materials and those supplying electrical and cooling equipment. The next level is the indirect employment that comes from the local partner firms, such as hardware vendors, software providers. And then we move down to the professional services firms like the engineering, consulting firms, architects, etc. And then ultimately we also have the renewable energy developers, which are vital, particularly in a region like the Nordics. When thousands of workers arrive, communities are transformed. It's a no-brainer. The supply chain around the infrastructure has become one of the most powerful engines of industrial renewal in Europe. And that's coming from the people at Oxford University that spend their whole time looking in at this. This is the most important thing we have going on in Europe at the moment. The European Data Center Association has found that for every 1 billion euros that's invested in data center infrastructure, then that generates roughly 13,000 jobs within the EU. And the most important part about those jobs is that 60 to 70% of them are indirect roles in the supporting industries. The trickle-down effect is phenomenal. And that leads me to the induced roles. Induced roles are the jobs that's in the local communities, like cafes, schools, and transport. Hospitality and food. Local restaurants, cafes, pubs, hotels like this are benefiting from us just being here today. They also accommodate a massive influx of staff who are relocating into areas like Katrine Holm, Gävle, places like that. Obviously, housing and real estate. We have home construction that goes through the roof. We have real estate services that grow as workers and their families seek housing around these data center areas. And then finally, we have the retail stores. They're making sales every time that people are living and working around the data center areas. We have gym chains, for example, which expand into regions that they didn't normally come into. But the schools need to hire teachers for all the new kids in the area. And this is how data reshapes local communities. This is not a data center. If you ask people mostly outside of our industry, and even some of the people inside it, they'll think it's like 5 people sitting around staring at a screen, sipping tea, and just waiting for their next cup of tea. It's not that at all. This is a good example. This is the beautiful town of Hamina in Finland. And like many of the towns in the sort of outer skirts of, the countryside in Finland, they had a massive problem whenever Nokia collapsed. They lost a lot of their jobs. But Google's data center in this town has boosted housing, expanded schools, and helped the local communities to sort of thrive. And this town of all is a perfect example of when a single data center is what then lifted an entire town of people. It was Diane Green who headed up this whole region for this whole project for Google Cloud originally. And she says it up front. Data centers are today's factories. Simple as that. They're hubs of productivity, connectivity, and long-term community wealth. And that's key. And sometimes we have to sort of understand the impact they're having on individual people in smaller areas. Microsoft, full credit to them, they have done recent hyperscale data centers investments in Sweden across towns like Gävle, Sandviken, and Staffanstorp. And these stats just illustrate the direct employment impact. 5.3 million work hours, over nearly 13 million peak jobs, and almost 600 permanent roles across these. And again, these are not short bursts. These are career pipelines for 561 people. So that's what you're dealing with. So here in the Nordics, we do have a unique edge. We do have abundant clean energy. We do have stable politics. We have a strong skilled force, a strong skilled workforce, and we have reliable connected grids. And that is our Nordic edge for this entire region. And it's why hyperscalers have had so much great success in this region. If we look at what Meta have done in Luleå, the hyperscalers do want to work here, and the region does benefit massively for it. The digital ambition of companies like Meta can completely reshape a city, as seen. Over 2,000 people employed during the construction, 900 sustainable jobs, and probably the best indicator of all, housing prices have doubled. That shows you the impact that it has on demand and supply within a society when you can look at that one stat alone. If we want a digital future that is inclusive and sustainable, we must start by investing in the people and the places behind the clouds. And that's the head of the OECD that's saying that. And the reality is, we do have the funds to make those investments. By 2030, the global data center industry will hit $4 trillion, a phenomenal number. And what's more important is that is faster growth than almost all industries in the history of mankind. And don't forget, the Nordics is at the center of that. But like everything else, there is a hidden cost. You know, running data centers doesn't come for free. They do have an impact, and climate and the environment is a blind spot that we always must address, of course. So, of course, we need to take our heads out of the sand. We need to be realistic about the challenges that we're facing on that regard. And within our team at Salboheds, and of course across our industry and everyone we work with, we are fully aware that there are environmental challenges that come with data centers. The critics are constantly highlighting the challenges that exist: energy consumption, water use, land impact, carbon emissions, e-waste. And the critics do raise valid concerns. And of course, the first people we have to look at is ourselves, because it's us that are creating the demand for the use on the data centers. You know, the demand for AI services and cloud and everything else is coming from us as individuals, as we sort of turn off the lights at night and, you know, just quickly check Facebook or whatever that is. So, to be honest, we cannot fully outsource all the blame to the data center operators. They are doing as best they can, and it's not their fault any more than we would outsource the problems to a local water supplier. But don't forget, we are in the Nordics, so we all have these challenges to face. And we all remember the Swedish guy from earlier who was climbing up. Well, he's still climbing. Now he's even further up. And the good thing about the Nordics is that people here are genuinely interested in confronting those challenges and finding ways to fix them. And with the support of our Irish friend down there and everyone else holding the rope to help us sort of push ahead in this, you know, towards facing these challenges, we actually can flip the script. We can take the challenges as they are and make them into opportunities. Here in the Nordics, waste heat becomes district heating. Renewable energy expands the grids, and data centers are the ones that are pushing green infrastructures forward in a lot of regards. So we can bridge these issues. In Stockholm, for example, waste heat from data centers warms 30,000 homes. In Finland, Google heats the schools with the recycled energy that comes from the data centers. And this is a core part of the Nordics. This is the circular economy at work, and it's vital to our success here. In addition to that, data centers are also social anchors. There are so many good things that are coming from data centers on a real level. And to be honest, I like this quote so much, because when a data center sponsors a local football team, it's not PR, it's actually civil pride. We have a co-founder at Salboheds, Tom Anderson, and he works diligently every day to ensure that every single sports team across all the sports is sponsored and supported. Dennis just mentioned it here when he was on stage as well. And we sponsor everything in Västerås, but we also sponsor everything from Stockholm Gales to Örebro Hockey, and it seems everything else in between. So we back up this quote 100% within our team, and I know many of the others do, the hyperscalers. From AI courses to football pitches, the data center industry is investing in culture, in sports, and in education. At Salboheds, Dennis has made a commitment towards building paddle courts, bike trails, playgrounds, whatever. Because don't forget, we are the groundworks team. Whatever way we leave the ground when we go last off the site is what we leave it with. So it's easy for us to make sure that we leave something back for the society. And it's a brilliant commitment that Dennis has made. Nordic nations aim to make digital growth strategic and sustainable. In fairness to the governments here, they do tie tax breaks to heat reuse, to training, to employment of local people, and also job creation. And this type of work in the cloud, it's not hype. It's not just for headlines from politicians and things. They understand that this is the next industrial revolution in the jobs. So before I finish, I just want to look into one last project that shows a project that is being developed now. This one's out of the UK. It's obviously under NDA, so it's called DC01 UK. And this is a hyperscale project that illustrates the scale of economic uplift that a single facility can bring to its region. Nearly 4 billion in construction, over 20 million in just taxes and local rates every day or every year. 500 people are being employed during the construction phase. There's 200 permanent jobs that are coming out of it when it's completed. And this one, nearly 14,000 indirect jobs from the single facility outside London. In gross value added annually is more than £1.1 billion to the British economy. So that is the real story behind the title, The Hidden Workforce of the Cloud. And it's because we don't often see the faces of the hard-working teams that are out putting in a shift every day for us. And the hidden workforce of the cloud isn't just technicians, it's the teams of electricians, teachers, baristas, students. Because global tech does drive local prosperity, and the digital infrastructure is now the new backbone of inclusive growth. It connects people, places, and purpose. At Salboheds, we don't just build data center foundations. We're trying to build the trust, the skills, and the communities around them. And our goal is inclusive growth. We want to build the cloud scale, and we want everyone that's around us to be involved in it as well. Because to be honest with you, it's all about the next generation and how they find their place in the world when they go looking for it. So the question is, what do we do that puts a smile on their face and lights up the world for them? Because one thing's for sure, the times, they are changing. Change brings turbulence. Turbulence brings opportunity. And as an Irish immigrant in this great society, this is sort of my gift to you today. I hope it was insightful for you in some regard. And if you have ever got any questions at all, please reach out and please connect to us at Salboheds, because we're always looking to work with good people and do good things. So please connect to us, and thank you for having us in today.
Well, thank you, Patrick. Just one thing before you leave stage. I'm sorry, I cannot just let you leave. Yes, I want a question. So sorry about that. I was thinking, I cannot stop thinking about the photo of the Irish iron workers.
Yeah.
On top of that, up in the clouds. I think this photo was taken in 1932, or actually I Googled it, sorry.
You're right, yeah.
And what they were doing is called lunch atop of a skyscraper. And what they were doing was that they were creating the modern New York. And I think that this is something big. If we were to think of how we would do that today, because I'm a cultural anthropologist, and the last research I did, or the latest research I did, was about Generation Z, our youngsters born in between 1997 and 2012. And one thing that really struck me when I was doing that research is that what they feel is it touched me very deeply, because they feel very lonely and alone. Our young people feel very up to 60% of them, they suffer from loneliness. And I think that, when we create these new jobs and when we create the new society, we must think of that. And this is exactly what you're doing. We're thinking about sports and about communities and creating a meeting point. So what, Patrick, if we were to make a new photo in 2025 of creating the new society when we're creating these data centers, what would that be?
I think it might look like some of the photos I showed at the end, which is young people coming together and seeing a bright future for themselves. We're going to see the entire world of work change over the next 5, 10, 15 years, but it's going to move. AI will take a lot of jobs, but it will create multiple new jobs. And in other presentations I do, I have a photograph of the horseless carriage. So the horseless carriage is what we now know as the car. And whenever they were introducing the horseless carriage, the main sort of criticism at that day was like, what are we going to do about all the jobs? They're going to be lost for people who make horseshoes and grow hay and deliver hay. But just look at what the car industry has provided, with the customizations and everything that comes with it. I think it's the same. And I think we have to give kids hope.
Yeah.
I think a lot of loneliness comes from lack of hope and lack of connection. And honestly, the thing I'll say about Salboheds, Dennis, Peter, Tom, they actually do care about the local society, and this is why they're so interested in making sure that all the sports teams, like we actually sponsor the youth teams as well in the academies of like VSCO and things like that. So we want to see people come together. Like this is a mental health thing as well.
I think so.
All that hope solves a lot of the problems.
I think so.
And credit to these guys because they actually put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
A warm round of applause for Patrick. So not only do new data centers create new opportunities for meeting spots in communities, but it also creates new relationships and connect even countries. So I'm very honored to be welcoming onto stage the Irish ambassador to Sweden, Her Excellency Barbara Jones. So, do you want me to help you a little bit with the... Do you have a strong voice? So we get to listen to a little bit more of that lovely Irish accent.
More Irish accent than you'd expect. Unfiltered. Sorry about that. I think I was attached to the chair.
Okay, I see. Well, yeah, that's good. You could have put the chair up. That was one opportunity. But I'll leave the stage to you, Barbara.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much for the opportunity, Dennis, to be here this morning. Thank you very much, Patrick, for your thoughtful paper and your great presentation of it. And a little bit about myself. I'm 2 years as Ambassador of Ireland in Sweden. I recognise that isn't a lifetime in a place, but I would have to say to you, I love being Ambassador to Sweden. It's such an honour to be part of this society. One of my colleagues, the Ambassador of Serbia, is here this morning, and I'm delighted to be here as true European women in leadership. We as ambassadors here very much feel the joy of welcome and the opportunity to learn so much about what's happening. And I think right at the heart of what's happening here in Sweden is this transformation. And Patrick, you picked up on it, the industrial leadership of Sweden and the contribution which Sweden in its leadership around technology and innovation and societal development, what we can learn from that in Ireland. We certainly have found here a great opportunity to understand this economy and this society since European Union membership by Sweden 30 years ago. In many ways, I think as a European, I would want to say that Ireland's relationship with Sweden is best understood in its modern incarnation as a relationship which has flowered and been transformed by membership of the European Union together. Ireland's in the European Union 53 years ago, joined 53 years ago, and Sweden, upon joining, put Ireland, normally Little Ireland, as sort of big brother Ireland to Swedish diplomats trying to understand the European system. And that solidarity really has brought together, I guess, my generation of diplomats, knowing their Swedish colleagues in a way that wasn't the case before. So to your point, Dennis, about the importance of a relationship, those relationships have been forged day by day, week by week in the European Union as we as member states work with the Commission and the Council to forge this wonderful Europe that we have created. So I just wanted to situate what I'm going to say around that. In that 30 years time, I would say, as relevant to the journey of the white paper here, Ireland has been transformed. Ireland 30 years ago was a next recipient of European Union funds to build our roads, our infrastructure. Now Ireland is the 6th largest contributor to the European Union and the highest by per capita contribution because our population was so small. And that makes us really proud because that's what Jacques Delors believed in bringing in countries, giving them the opportunity to share in the European journey of the founders. Now, what has that brought? It has brought exactly what white paper is saying. The digital transformation is a part of the transformation of the Irish economy. Why? For 2 reasons. One is free education in our country, to the point about community. So I am the first generation in my family to get the chance to finish secondary school and go to university. My mother didn't have that opportunity, nor had my father. So in one generation, we've gone from, restricted access to education to universal access to education. And I'm proud to say that. I'm not saying that with any chagrin about the past, but to see that has driven access to education, access to markets. So freedom of education, freedom of trade, and two-way freedom of trade. Swedish imports coming to Ireland, Irish exports go to Sweden. We want both because we know as a small island over there on the western coast, we need trading partners. And I think this brings me very, very quickly, and here with my colleague Karen, we work together in a construction called Ireland House, where our trade promotion experts, both Empires Ireland, sits side by side with the diplomats and other colleagues from the FEET promotion board. And the thought is that by working together, we create an ecosystem on a larger network for Ireland and Sweden, a win-win. But in that period of time, Enterprise Ireland have led the transformation of the indigenous sector. So everybody knows that Microsoft and Google have been in Ireland forever. We know that Meta are there. We know that the story of the US investment into Ireland. What's little understood and it's at the heart of the white paper is the consequence of that investment in the domestic economy of Ireland. And the consequence has been the bringing in of a certain can-do of American business culture, maybe into the Irish. You had that indigenously here in Spain. This is a can-do pottery. But what it brought with it was the necessity for the construction sector to build the factories that they needed. And I'm looking at Jones Engineering. I know there are other companies here, but in meeting the Irish high-tech construction companies, you hear that the original story was when Intel went to Leixlip, or when so-and-so when Microsoft went to Salboheds Dublin. So the skill set that the Irish construction sector developed for this inward flood of investment into Ireland because of by talent, and there is an element of tax in it, but it's mostly talent and access to what our European Union models. So, but we really very early on was a capability developed in the Irish economy, which is exactly what is the central case of this paper. And now what we see, and Karen leads this, is a very sophisticated high-tech sector, over 100 and construction sector, over 180 Irish companies, exporting nearly €5 billion in the year globally. And the largest proportion of the global exports are to the Nordic. And that is facilitated by what? Fantastic relationships, as Dennis described, a regulatory platform provided by the European Union, because innovation needs regulation, or else it becomes not what we're talking about here this morning. And we see to the transformation of the relationship between, shall we say, construction sector Sweden, construction sector Nordics, and Ireland. And that is driving a transformation that is genuine, its own Nordic Irish variation. There's a good fit in the culture. You all speak much better English than Eden, with much nicer accents than my flat Wexford accent. Like, I wish I could say awe. It is in awe here this morning. I love listening to Swedish. I wish I could speak it better. But what I want to say is that at the heart of this white paper is a vision of transformation through technology in investment, which you could substitute Ireland as the central case. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is, I love the honesty of Baker, because there are challenges. Data centers are known. I trained as a computer programmer, a systems analyst before I became a diplomat. And the data centers are not the data centers that were values. Isn't it the greatest funny thing that when they talked about cloud computing, you didn't realize it was acres and acres of contric and racks and pipes. It's a very real thing, as we know. But what I want to say is the challenges are obvious when Patrick's highlighted them. Energy, big issue in Ireland. The impact on the grid of the larger data centers. We have about 80 data centers, Karen, I think, already in Ireland. 80? 80? 50? 80 data centers in operation in Ireland, I think, is what the number is. And the impact of that on the grid has caused a pause in construction in and around Dublin. So that risk has been already realised in Ireland. And what has been happening has been Enterprise Ireland and the government, with EU funding, are driving innovation in the cooling systems through water and the other things that you all know better. So shall we say, the innovation is always spiralling through the challenge to try and deal with it. And what I would say is the real European and global challenge is the governance of all of this. Because the data centers are now factories, yes, but they're AI factories, learning more and more and more. Obviously, that's to the good of innovation and for creation of a better world in the right hands. Don't we all understand that? New science, is it convergence of the biological sciences and medicine? Think of the opportunity of all that computing power with these new chips to find solutions to diseases that killed people. Like with that capability, lives can be saved and lives can be transformed in the right hands. So the governance of AI and the revolution is certainly not something that you've dodged here in this presentation. And I do really appreciate that, because we know that those issues are not at national level anymore. They require action at the European level. And that is where when Ireland takes the presidency next year, side by side with our colleagues in the European, those issues are summed up mind, that governance of the, shall we say, the AI transformation. I'm a complete optimist about the boat that pumped on these technologies. However, we do recognize that the world in which this is taking place is a different world. Superpower rivalry, Russia, China, United States, potentially playing out eventually as rivalry over actual technologies like quantum computing. And you're all reading about that stuff, but it is definitely a very, very significant risk that we're adjusting to AI, thinking about the future for our children, as Anna mentioned, but you're looking at quantum computing coming right around the corner. So what does this mean for us here? It means that conversations like this are more and more important, that Dennis's intuition of bringing together other stakeholders to talk not about project timeline, but of something bigger than any one project. The common purpose of all of this is to have a sustainable contribution to a better, safer communities. And that lovely smiling picture, happiness. Imagine that. And obviously making a contribution to peace and, resolving touch crisis. All of these technologies help that. So I'm a huge optimist for the technology. I am so grateful, Dennis, for your idea of pulling this breed together. I hope everybody here can stay in touch. There's one Barbara Jones who's the ambassador of Ireland here. Karen is the expert, and you'll hear her on the panel in a moment. But if there's anything that Lee and our teams in Ireland House can do to have you or your companies either back into Ireland or us playing a party, what you're doing here, these case challenges, and please stay in touch. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Barbara. Just a couple of questions. Okay. So I was wondering, I just learned that high-tech constructions is this now Ireland's second largest native export after foods and drinks. And that includes Guinness. Right. So let's 1-0. Yeah. There you go. So you said a couple of numbers. How important is that, the Nordic market at that? What's 180 companies?
Yeah, but here I think about 50 or 60 companies. Yes, so in the sector nationally, yeah, I think you'll be at contact 80. And then here active, I think it's 60 companies in the Nordic regions. Yes, obviously, you'd.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So now you were talking about, because I think one of the most important things is creating that ecosystem that you're talking about, because everything is new to all of us when it comes to digital transformation, artificial intelligence, and so forth. And I was thinking about this partnership across the borders, in between countries and in between different companies and so forth. So if we are here to create some sort of a responsible transformation in creating this together, okay. But then I can bring this on again. Sure. Now, I was thinking about how can we together, you wanted us to come to you and talk about how we can evolve together and develop together. How can we do that? What do you think? If we are to do this in a responsible way, you were talking about sustainable development, and I'm both environmental but also social. What should we do? Well, how will we start away in the coffee?
Well, I think that the first thing we have to do is, first of all, be solid in the vision that Dennis has outlined here today, which this is a purposeful activity with a goal. So we're building buildings with the goal of creating social solidarity and equity in our societies. And that this beautiful Swedish practice of being successful and then pouring the profits back into the society. I know William here is leading a project, for example, on corporate social responsibility in the area that he works in. And I know if I could see everybody at the back, I know that this is so embedded in the values of Swedish business. So that's the first thing we have to hang on to our purpose. And then we do have to make sure that we are satisfied. I think that, there is that gut check about who our partners are. And I think then it does come down to our political leaders in dialogue with business, in shaping and getting the balance right between regulation of the data that is stored and is being generated and the right of companies to do their business, make a profit, and decide themselves where their profits go as they pay their taxes. So I think it's a big new conversation at the social level about, in this society, I think the credibility of the digital services will be, I'm trying to think of a good example, Anna. Do you remember when it became cool to be checking for the fair trade mark on your coffee or on your vegetables? When we saw overuse of pesticides in agriculture, we started to look for our ecologically grown tomatoes. I think that digital services provided through hyperscale, I think people will begin to say, oh yeah, who's powering this app? Or I think that level of consumer awareness is going to come in. And I think that's a good thing. And I love the way the American companies are establishing in Europe now in a fresh way. So I think consumer awareness, we're only at the start of the challenge to explain that this is truly a new future we're building, which can be transformative and for the better.
And you know what? Having researched Generation Z, as I told you, our youngsters in community, one thing that we know for sure is that they would never work for a company that isn't driving sustainability. So, and everyone I know, all companies are now trying to find the best skills possible for the future. So I fully agree with you. That's one of the major questions and important questions.
And I think it comes back always. So when we look back into our family history and our country's histories, it's always about education. It's always about education, because it's down to education and values that we learn. So thank you very much, Anna.
So it's a great pleasure having you here. A warm round of applause for her Excellency Barbara. Thank you. It is also a great pleasure for me to welcome another guest onto stage. She is the Vice President of the Board of European Data Centers Association. But her daytime job is as Innovation and Business Executive Advice, one of my favorite organizations out there, the Research Institute of Sweden. A warm round of applause for Isabella Kjemlin.
Thank you. So let me just rearrange here so I don't throw anything down. Dear ambassadors, esteemed industry colleagues and fellow leaders, ladies and gentlemen, it's a true pleasure to be here today, not only as a representative for the Swedish data center industry, but also European data center industry, and also as someone who is deeply engaged in what's happening in... Is this working? Yeah, no. Now you hear me a little bit better, sorry. Who is deeply engaged in research for what's coming on a global scale for our digital infrastructure. But first, I would like to tell you a little bit the story about my daughter. So she's 13 years old, and what she loves all above everything else is ice hockey. And she plays ice hockey in a team in Väsby. And that is just, you want to push your children to do what they want. And everyone thinks, oh, cool, girls playing ice hockey. And but that is accepted and fun up until those girls start to compete about the time of the ice in the ice hockey halls. No, it's not that fun anymore to have someone to compete with. Data centers today are also competing about something, power. And we do need to see the data centers also as the girls and women playing ice hockey. It is going to be there, and it's just natural. We do see a lot of things that is happening also to work on those challenges. So I wanted to, because we're living in a time when actually the data centers are no longer just a separate little industry. I think we need to really see it for what it is. It is the foundation of the digital economy. But being that, it also comes with a responsibility. And for example, from an electricity perspective, which is kind of one of the key areas where we are, struggling, I would say. It's been really okay up until now, because we, with the cloud industry that have been growing, and we managed almost, we've done so many things from a sustainability perspective. So the increase in power has not been, like this. But what we do see going forward with AI is a little bit of a different story. So now there is a time where we really need to work very, very close together on different levels. And that's something where I really, really will urge everyone to kind of take an own responsibility, because it was like Patrick showed here earlier. Someone needs to do something. Well, I can't remember the quote, but it's actually up to us to do something today. So from a European perspective, as well as a Nordic, where we work in very close collaboration in between our industry associations, and in Sweden, the collaboration with the grid owners and the grid providers are crucial. There is a project going on an EU level right now, where the TSOs, as in the grid owners, and they have a collaboration in an association called NSOI, as well as the European Data Center Association, EUDCA, and the largest hyperscalers. We are now, I would say, that have of course happened locally on over and over and over again, but we are now trying to do something on the European level, to work together, to come and sit and discuss very, very important topics on how to, what should the requirements be for connecting to the grid. I will come back to the, for example, the planning, the permitting. What are those challenges, and how can we together solve that? Because the only thing that we actually want to do together is to release more power, access to more power. So they have that goal, and we as an industry also have this goal. But right now, if we don't really understand each other and sit in, coming from an we live in an industry that's like, wow, months. We have a timelines of months and it needs to happen here and now. They have more of a infrastructure mindset, and it's 10, 20, 50 plus years before, when they set out their roadmaps and plans. We need to help each other to work closer together. Because one of the challenges with AI, why do we see that it is a challenge for the grid? Well, if you think about a data center today or data hall, you see rows of servers. And those rows are racks with servers. All these servers are working as individuals. But with AI, what we want to do is actually try to make all of these servers work together as one single brain. And what does that mean? Well, then we have a little bit of a challenge because, of course, this workload can go on and off as quickly as someone said 20 milliseconds. And if you have a data center with one big brain that's going on and off, then there are some challenges. I talked about, some things that are challenging for our industry, but I think what we actually have and what we can do very well together is what you were talking a minute ago, Barbara, about. Partnership, collaboration, the mindset on how actually coming together with different mindset, but still having a very non-hierarchical, easy way of working together, and also a very much dedication of pulling up the sleeves and doing the job. I think here the Nordics, together with Ireland, have a fantastic opportunity to do just this. Also because there are already good collaborations in the Nordics with the grid owners, but I think we can also even improve that further, for example, here in Sweden. There are also, we touched upon this is a new era with a new legislation that is coming. Here also, I think I was on stage in Berlin and got the question. So, Isabel, do you think that it's a good thing with legislation? And I said, yes, because that can also that kind of makes us run in the same at the same road. We have a little bit of a, otherwise we will slightly run in different directions. But if we have at least one road to walk and we know where the guardrails are, then we will so much easier be able to run there. But in Germany, they are putting regulations on how high your how do they call heck, how your hedges are going to be. It's like in centimeters numbers. So of course they thought it was a little bit, but I truly believe that is a good thing, because we can be ahead also in innovation due to that. And we are, because I think also with RISE and what's actually happening, thanks to when Facebook established up in Luleå, you also talked about the self-confidence, the pride of, we can actually do something. So I come from Gällivare, which is 250 kilometers north of Luleå. When I was young, we went by train over day to go to Luleå so we could go shop at H&M. That was like a really fun thing to do. And then we talked about Luleå as Little Stockholm. It was not, we were not super, we didn't think it was a nice word, but it felt like Little Stockholm. Nowadays, I go there, and since Facebook has established this is now Little Stockholm, it has been growing, and the self-confidence that we can actually land huge international companies and to this area, it's there, and it's flourishing. It's flourishing from the perspective of restaurants and pubs for the Irish, and a lot of other things. So you can really feel the pace in a totally different way. When it's established, actually the one of the key persons from Sweden, I think it was one of the Wallenbergs, who asked the mayor of Luleå, so what do you think about, what are you going to do with this now? And they're like, we need a plan. And one of the plan that actually came out of that was research. So there is since now any day now, actually it's going to be a celebration of 10 years that RISE have had a research facility for data centers in Luleå. So here there are so many things that are happening. I would like also to say that even though we have some challenges, we have really a good chance to do something good from a sustainability perspective together. Because this is a mindset that we have deeply embedded in Sweden and the Nordics. And it's not just about building and growing, but we are also investing in the people. And we need to collaborate across the sectors. But so the data centers, as you're fully aware of, is no longer a warehouse full of machines. It's actually something that is living and a breathing part of our communities. It is the backbone of our future. And I really hope that we can continue to build that together. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. I would like to create an ecosystem of partners here. So if you please could have a seat over there, and I would like to welcome also a couple of more guests onto stage. So please help me in welcoming onto stage the AWS Public Policy Lead for the Nordics, Sandra Karlsson. And she was referred to as the expert by Her Excellency Barbara Jones, the Global Lead Data Centers Enterprise Ireland, Corinne Angus. So I would like to start with a question to all of you first and foremost. The white paper actually describes data centers as the modern economical anchor for creativity, jobs, and supporting local supply chains and so forth. So from your different perspectives, and I start with you, Corinne, what does that look like in practice?
Well, it's what's been mentioned here earlier today, that it's a whole community of, if you have the data center investment or whatever investment you're having, the factory or whatever it can be, that it becomes a part of the community. So that you build a whole ecosystem around it, whether it's schools, ice hockey rinks, libraries, the logistical part of it as well. So all of it, I mean, we saw it actually very clearly also during the pandemic, because one of the few places in Sweden that actually were doing okay in the ecosystem were the parts of Gävle-Sandviken, and maybe also here, Västerås, Katrineholm, Eskilstuna, because of the construction sites staying open, so that the hotels and restaurants and bars could actually survive. That was very rare in the whole pandemic, if you look at Sweden, for example. So I think that was a good example of what it can give as well to a country and a community.
Lovely.
So what do you say, Sandra?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think especially being here in Västerås, it's very concrete because we have, you mentioned our towns. So Amazon, we have data centers powering our cloud in here in Västerås, Eskilstuna, Katrineholm. We launched them in 2018, meaning that construction started already in 2017. But we've actually, for the past year and a half, been going through our second phase. So we've been building our second data center buildings, and these are very large, complex construction projects. So very happy to have seen a lot of activity here in Västerås with, I don't have an exact number, but several hundreds of employees coming, working on the sites during that time. And that is jobs that are created here. Of course, construction is the most intensive, like, job creating time, but we also continue building all the time. So we build the big building, the data center, but then we deliver room by room. So even though it's like the kind of peakiest employment, like, there continues to be jobs. And then, of course, the people operating these. So I think for me, just sitting here, like, the last year and a half has been a real kind of demonstration of the amount of, like, indirect and direct and induced jobs that we can really bring to a town.
Lovely. And imagine what it will look like in 1.5 years from now when we meet again in the sofa here in Västerås. I hope. So what do you say, Isabel? You touched upon it in your speech.
Yeah, well, I would like also to continue on just that topic, because it is, I was in a similar setting, and there was a researcher from Stanford, and he asked the crowd, so are there any mayors from any local municipalities here? It was like 3 person putting up their hand, and he went straight up to them and shake their hands. He said, you know what? Our research shows that the subjects of maths, this STEAM, engineering, mathematics, technical matters, those subjects are actually going from almost non-existent in those regions. They looked at the map of US and where big deployments of data centers are. So before and after, they could see a big increase in how the local communities have been having those topics on the schedule for the kids. And why is that important? Well, of course, because that next generation will actually work very, very close together on those, because everything that is handled in the data center needs to be developed as well. And the same thing happening up in Nordic now. I talked to the NVIDIA global deployment manager, Vladimir, and he was saying that even though they were going now with partnership with the local universities, for example, up in Narvik, to make sure that there are actually people that are well educated also within those topics.
Skill supply. Important questions. Now, Sandra, I would like for you to share some of the examples how you at AWS actually, how your different projects have contributed to development, but especially, I'm interested in everything that has to do with innovations and so forth. And we've been talking about partnerships and ecosystems. So do you have any projects, any insights to share with us from that?
Yeah, I have, I think, 2 that comes to mind immediately. One, building on what Isabel said, of course, for us, we have as a goal to be a good neighbor in the communities where we operate, because this is where our employees live, where their families are going to school, etc. So we collaborate with different in-communities projects. And in Västerås last year, we did what we call a Kids Tech Day, where we had 4 school classes from Kunskapsskolan i Västerås do different technology workshops, really diving into different STEM subjects. And we had over 100 students doing that. They got to spend a whole day. I was there. It was a lot of fun, very tiring, but very fun. And the whole purpose is to keep that kind of curiosity going and for kids not to lose their interest in technology, because it doesn't matter if they want to become a data center technician, if they want to become, a programmer, just keeping that up. And that's something that we want to do in the communities where we operate. When you talk about innovation, another project comes to mind. So in Katrineholm, the municipality came to us with a problem that they were working to solve, which was that they needed to manage the flood risk in the municipality. And that also impacted our site. So we were obviously interested in solving this kind of issue, but we also want to try to solve problems not just for ourselves, but for the broader community. So there, the municipality, with support from us, is building a new wetland, which will help reduce shape water flows, if you will, and then also clean the water before it reaches the lake where it will go to. But the innovative part of this is because we're working with the municipality, they're also keen on understanding, can we use digital services in this? What can we do? Your cloud is here in our municipality, and they're starting to install sensors. So instead of having people going out and measuring various things at intervals, they're really thinking, what sensors can we install so that we have this on a dashboard and just access all the time? So that can be water levels, pollutants, etc. But yeah, they're really trying to think how can we innovate in this space, which I think is really cool.
It's really cool, Sandra. Now, another thing, we've been talking about how infrastructure and digital infrastructure actually can be the foundation of national competitiveness. Difficult word, actually. But how are data centers helping local companies also and suppliers grow internationally and globally? What do you say, Karin?
Yeah, well, Barbara touched on it, that we all know that Ireland has been very good at attracting inward investment. Especially the American blue chip companies all set up their European headquarters in Ireland. The construction industry around 20 years ago or so in Ireland struggled. It was a tough period for them. But then they got to build the data centers for the likes of Microsoft, Google, Amazon Web Services, and Meta and so on, and built up that expertise. So they got to work in their own country. They got to build up the expertise, become really good at it. And now they're exporting all those capabilities and that expertise globally, especially to Europe, especially to the Nordics, where they're kind of dominating almost the data center industry here. So we've seen like the ecosystem coming in to a country like Sweden, where it's everything from the main contractor to the mechanical and electrical contractor, the steel contractors, the whole ecosystem, also with the small and medium-sized enterprises, because it's the whole ecosystem. And then also, of course, collaborating with local companies, whether it's Salboheds or someone else like that. So to also bring the local companies in and getting bigger and better together, learning from each other. So that's what we've seen in Ireland. And yeah.
So any insights from that you can share amongst the Swedish companies now about to embark on that journey?
I think what we see a lot of interest how Ireland has done it. I help organizing inward visits, study visits to Ireland. I've had Thomas Okolnicki coming on one of those quite a few years ago, and I'm having interested delegations from both Denmark and Norway coming to Ireland in the next 6 months. So we see a lot of interest of learning how you build that ecosystem up in the region where you're investing. So there is a lot to learn from Ireland. But what we also see here is that local companies on the ground can help so much with the local knowledge, the language, of course, just to make sure that you're compliant. We bring in the municipalities as well. So we mentioned the mayors here are important, the political leaders as well, that they're all a part of it and see the benefits that it brings to the community. So we can learn from each other is what I'm trying to say. I think grow together, become even better together. So the Irish expertise and the local Swedish, in this case, knowledge.
So remember to catch Karin when we have a coffee afterwards if you have any question. Also, we have time for a very brief question to you, Isabel. And I was wondering, because one of our major export things that we have in Sweden is about sustainability, and also Patrick was talking about that, about creating resilient data center operations. What do you think are the key ingredients behind the Swedish success?
I think it actually it comes from our passion for nature.
Yeah.
You coming from the north? Yeah, I come from the north, and I love everything with nature. And if my friends say something, they say, "Oh, I just want to be outside." Yeah, that's me. But I think I'm not the only one. I think, yeah, the bigger part in this room have this in-depth feeling. So we really, really care. And I think I had a very interesting conversation. We should not go into politics, but I will still do this as an example, because I was explaining to someone who really liked Elon Musk. And he was questioning why the Swedish... so in Sweden, we have actually stopped buying Teslas. In February last year, 40% of the Tesla new sales went down. And the month after, it was 60% down. And I think that this is something, when you as an individual change, you do something that is actually, you really like that. He was like, "It's really good American quality, why don't you buy it?" But it is this feeling that it goes against my core values. And even though it is something that you really care about and you really love that car, you're still not taking that decision. So I think we have this embedded. And then on top of that, we have green and carbon neutral energy that is at a better price than in a lot of other countries. We have research around this. We are leading, I would say, in that. We have the district heating networks. You don't have that in many other countries except for the Nordics. And we have a lot of other inventions going on how you can actually reuse the heat. So I think this is the heat reuse is one thing, but then the good thing here also, and this is where I really see, since it's so what is sustainability? Sustainability is not just energy, it's a lot of other things as well. It is about the social norms and the way we work together. It is about the material. It is about how we can reuse not only the heat, but the servers and everything that comes that we are going to throw away after a while. And it is also the whole life cycle analysis on what's actually in the data center and where did it come from. So I think there are more things to it, but the good thing is also that we can talk about, when it comes to electricity, it is the biggest, like, of all your bills running a data centers, the biggest bill is going to be your electricity bill. Yeah. That means that I can sit in a room full of investors and talk about return on investment and being efficient, and we need to think about those kind of topic. And in another room, I can talk about sustainability, because this time it actually goes hand in hand. So we have a true possibility to change, and we have this in a drive and a lot of tools in Sweden doing just that.
Yeah, thank you. So that's unfortunately what we have time. I could have been sitting here for at least a couple of more hours, but we'll do that next year, right, Patrick? So I would like to for you to stomp your feet, clap your hands, whistle if needed, for this amazing panel with Karin, Sandra, and Isabel. And please, Patrick, come and join us on stage. And please stay with me, ghosts. It's been an amazing morning, Patrick, I'd say. But it's not ending here because this is just the start, isn't it?
Yes, this is just a start. We want to contribute more to the society. We want to sort of help close that expectations gap, the knowledge gap around some of the great work we're doing as an industry, but also as a region within the Nordics. And this is why I'm so happy that so many people have travelled in from different countries and, stepped up to attend this today. I want to thank you for being the utmost professional and sort of enabling all this to happen to help FIA. And if I could, I'd like to give you all a small gift for your attendance, please. Dennis will hand that over.
Oh, thank you, Denny. Thank you.
And Barbara, can we have you here as well? And everyone that's involved, could we have you to the stage for a photograph, please? The presenters, you're in the center, of course. No, we'll do that one first.
So, okay. Well, come and join us in the center, Barbara.
See the lovely gender diversity.
This is Sweden, but
Thank you very much. Non-partnering seat.
but what we promise right now is that we will be staying here for a while, and for all of you that have questions, ideas, or just want to create a new ecosystem of sustainability, we'll be out having coffee afterwards, mingling, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And also, too, I just want to say thanks to Jonas. He's been the backbone of all this, doing all the behind-the-scenes work as well. So, and FIA for there as well. So thank you for everyone that's been involved.
So thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you outside for a coffee and a chat. Bye for now.
And steel beneath our hands. From distant shores we meet as strangers, building futures where we stand. Every foundation that we're laying, every connection that we're making, roots run deeper than the surface shore. We are the groundwork, we are the builders, turning the earth where the future grows. From Swedish lands to across the Nordics, we raise it up and the whole town knows. We are the groundwork, we are the builders, more than foundations, more than stone. When people meet, the ripples spread wide, 1,000 homes from seeds we've sown. Just cables underground. It's the families fed by morning labor. It's the life in every sound. Every worker with a reason, every business in its season. Watch the circle spreading out from here. We are the groundwork, we are the builders, turning the earth where the future grows. From Swedish lands to across the Nordics, we raise it up and the whole town knows. We are the groundwork, we are the builders, more than foundations, more than stone. When people meet, the ripples spread wide, 1,000 homes from seeds we've sown. What do we leave behind? More than we found. Who do we lift with us? The whole town around. We are the groundwork, we are the builders, turning the earth where the future grows. From Swedish lands to across the Nordics, we raise it up and the whole town knows. We are the groundwork, we are the builders, more than foundations, more than stone. When cultures meet, the future's brighter.